What's up, everyone? I'm Coach D, and first of all, I want to thank you guys for supporting my channel. We're almost at 110,000 subscribers, and it's all because of you guys. So, one of the questions that I often get, because people don't understand the impact of the U.S. Department of Education, is what will happen if Donald Trump were to cut the U.S. Department of Education? How would these things impact local schools? So, I want to read to you guys an email that was sent out to my wife's school district. It says, on March 20th, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order directing the U.S. Secretary of Education to explore shifting more control over education to states. While this has sparked discussions about the future of the U.S. Department of Education, any major changes would require congressional approval and may take time to materialize. President Trump has stated that key federal education programs, including Pell Grants, Title I, and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act remain in place. However, details regarding the administration have not yet been provided. One immediate impact for my city's unified school district is a termination of supplemental funding for specific nutrition initiatives. On March 10, 2025, the Nutrition Education Department was notified that the United States Department of Agriculture had discontinued the 2024 Local Foods for Schools funding, which would have provided approximately $300,000 to our district. The Local Foods for School program helped us invest federal dollars locally, ensuring students had access to high-quality produce. While this funding is no longer available, our commitment to student well-being remains unchanged. The Nutrition Education Department is actively working to absorb this change and ensure there is no impact on the quality of student meals. At our unified school district, our top priority is meeting the needs of our students while maintaining financial responsibility. We're closely monitoring these federal developments and proactively planning for potential impacts to ensure that every decision continues to support students, staff, and the overall stability of our schools. So, I've been in education now for 25 years. I got my start in resource classes, went to continuation education, and then went up to the college level. At every level that I've been at, we've had breakfast programs for students because a lot of the times I taught in schools in marginalized communities. If I could tell you how many times a kid came running into my classroom and said, "Hey, Coach D, can I warm up something in the microwave?" Or "Coach D, do we still have those, that sandwich meat," or whatever, It was many times. Many of these students did not have access to breakfast. And I understand that there are a lot of people out there who don't understand this. I get that if you grew up in an affluent community, you grew up in an affluent family, you don't understand how there are kids out there whose families can't afford to feed them breakfast. This is why I think it's so important for people to try and walk in the shoes of people like myself, other educators and coaches, because the things that we deal with on a daily basis, I don't think people in public who don't work in the public domain like we do have to deal with. There are many families who can't afford to feed their children and themselves breakfast every day. They depend on programs like these. And I want to finish this with telling you guys a story. So I was having a conversation with one of my assistant coaches recently, and she grew up in a pretty affluent family. And we were discussing if we should allow an athlete that we had kind of told to, we didn't kick him off the team, but we kind of told him that, just at this time, we weren't going to have him on the team because of his attitude and some things that he had done. And we were discussing, should we allow him back on the team? And she was, saying, my first inclination is just to say no. But I want to ask you guys, myself, and another coach, what you guys think, because you guys have been doing this for a long time. Just yesterday, a former student athlete of mine, drove up to the gate, to the side gate, and came in. He drove up and he came into the side gate to say hey to me. He's like, man, Coach, I was driving by and I saw you, and I was like, I haven't seen Coach D in years. I need to go and see him. He's a police officer in the city where my college is. And I've heard a lot of great things about him from other former student athletes of mine who are also in law enforcement. And when I tell you that this kid thanked me for giving him a second chance, for doing all the things and going above and beyond and everything for him, because in his opinion, he wouldn't be where he is today had he not been given that extra chance. So I was explaining to her, like, how she's still young. She's, I think, about 26 years old. I was explaining to her how great it feels to know that giving someone a second chance led to them being a productive member of society, being someone who is going to always, be an advocate for our program, for our school, for our community. And I told her, as much as you feel like this kid has been very disrespectful, has done a lot of things wrong, he showed up yesterday to apologize to us for that. And I said, you got to give these student athletes the benefit of the doubt. You have to give, because we're in a community. We work at a school. We work in the California junior college system. We are a school of opportunity. And when you give people opportunity, you watch them grow. And so when I think of programs being cut, that, again, I get it. There are a lot of people who don't even understand how these programs need to exist. But when you start cutting food programs, nutrition programs, tutoring programs, you are taking away from the people who need it the most, and the people who, when they do have those resources, they absolutely grow and flourish. I've told you guys about the program I teach in now. It's the EOP&S program. I teach a lot of foster youth, a lot of single mothers, a lot of just kids who've been through a lot. I've watched those kids in the 20 years that I've been teaching in this program graduate from college, come back as nurses, come back as professors, come back as counselors, become teachers, firefighters, police. I mean, I just have watched them become such huge productive members of society that it really scares me and really pains me to think that the programs and the resources that have been provided to people who need them the most can soon be on the chopping block because, in the name of government efficiency. You cannot run the country like a business, because if the country only thinks about the bottom line of making money, you lose a lot of people. You just do. There are a lot of people who are going to be hurt by these decisions. And hopefully, the email is right where it says that some of these things, and I know that they do, need congressional approval. Hopefully they don't get them. Hopefully we start to look at, or it takes too long, for them to get these things implemented. And we look at the impact that it actually has on our communities. Because I'm telling you guys, as someone who has been in the trenches now for 25 years in education, I know how important these things are. I know how important these programs are. And again, I live in a small, more conservative community in California, and even they're saying we need these programs. So a lot of times when you have bureaucrats at the highest level, billionaires running the country, they don't understand the plight and the struggles and the avenues that need to be taken by people in marginalized communities. I hope more people who, sit on the outside of these things and don't understand them become better advocates for it. I'll finish with this. I have a friend of mine who's a pretty conservative guy, and he's told me sometimes that, and when I say he's conservative, he's kind of a fiscal conservative guy, but honestly, I don't think he's as conservative as he thinks he is anymore, because we have a lot of conversations, and he falls on my side on a lot of these things now. But he was telling me that someone in the community came across my videos, and they were shocked by, some of the things that I was saying, and he's told them, like, you guys, the things that you guys, want to see in programs and social programs, Coach D is an example of that. He came through, like, a lot of these people who say these things about my videos or who don't know me don't know my mother, my brother, my sister, and the things that we've gone through. They see me in the community now as a successful person, a good father, a good coach, an educator. They don't know the struggles that I've gone through. And so when he tells them, you guys don't understand, like, this guy was poor when he grew up. His family took advantage of these social programs, and now because of that, he's in our community, someone who is giving back more than he could have ever taken away from this. So when you guys are talking about people, gaming the system and stuff like that, someone in your community that is a beneficiary of this, and your kids are benefiting from what he has provided to that community. And so, yeah, I mean, I make this video to say, if you happen to be someone who is either on the outside of this looking in, or someone who understands what I'm talking about, be more of an advocate. That's the best we can do. We have to be better advocates for marginalized communities, because if we're not, we're going to see the marginalized communities start to grow rather than shrink. And that's it. I just hope we become better advocates. Period. Hey, if you like my content, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, check out the merch at leftlaughs.com. As always, I appreciate you guys supporting my channel.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.